We'll call this meeting of the Craven County Board of Commissioners regular session for Monday, November the 20th, 2023 to order. Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Howard.
Present.
Commissioner Hunt.
Present.
Commissioner Mark.
Present.
Commissioner Mitchell. Here. Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Vice Chairman Booker.
Here.
Chairman Jones.
Here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, please let's stand together as our county attorney, Mr. Eric Grady, will lead us in prayer. Then I ask you to remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag. Mr. Grady.
Good and gracious God, we praise you, we love you, and we thank you for this day. Draw near to these commissioners. Remind them of their calling to serve the true common good. Help them to be instruments of unity, peace, and reconciliation in our county and throughout the world. Bless them, guide them, and fill them with an abundance of your grace. May they decide everything for the well-being of all, and may they never turn aside from your will. May all that they do begin from you and by you be brought to completion. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We welcome each of you here this morning to the Board of Commissioners meeting, which is your meeting. To those who may be viewing online, we also welcome you. I would ask for those in attendance, if we would, to make sure our phones are on silence so they would not disrupt this meeting. We would appreciate it. Commissioners, you have there before you your agenda packets. Are there any items you desire to pull or to add to today's agenda?
Make a motion to accept the agenda as is.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Is it any discussion on the motion? Hear none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Item 1 is the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, you have the minutes of the November 6, 2023 regular session and also tax releases. Are there any consent agenda items you desire to pull?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda A and B as presented. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hear none. Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Howard.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt.
Yes.
Commissioner Mark.
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell. Yes. Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Booker.
Yes.
Chairman Jones.
Yes. We're honored this morning to have Colonel Burks with us. I'm going to defer to Commissioner Mitchell. She was a part of bringing individuals from our military installation here in Craven County to the Board of Commissioners on a regular basis, so I'll defer to her this morning. Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to introduce Colonel Brendan Burks, who goes by the call sign Cletus. He is from the Gulf Coast, like I am, from Alabama. Thank you for coming today. He is the commanding officer of Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point, also known as America's Air Station. And there are major developments going on at the base, both at the Air Station, Fleet Readiness Center, and obviously the operational wing with the F-35s. That's going to change the base and change eastern North Carolina in the decades ahead. So this is a state of the base and state of the base in the future brief, and thank you very much for coming and talking to the commissioners and also to the public here in Craven County.
Well, thank you for having me this morning. So, name's Brendan Burks, call sign is Cletus, originally from Alabama. This is the 4th time I've been stationed here at Cherry Point. So, originally first came here in 2001, and that's where my wife and I showed up, newly married, and every time we've come back, we just brought more kids with us. But all 3 of my kids have grown up here in Craven County, and they consider this home, as you go through. But appreciate the time today. Really what I want to do is kind of highlight some of the big ticket items that are out there, some of the state actions, things that are going on the base, how they all come together, all right? Because the biggest thing that I've seen with all the travels in the military is that there's something special here at Craven County, all right? Because the relationship between the military and the community and moving in one direction, moving as a unity of effort is amazing. And so it's a pleasure to be a part of this team and come in and brief you today. Really kind of starting from the big picture, all right? So when we talk about the state, and You know, look, there's 3 major aviation installations right here in eastern North Carolina, starting at Seymour Johnson, Elizabeth City, and Cherry Point. Okay, those 3 bases right there, you have a very dense population of aviation artisans, okay? That takes many years to create, to form, and to get your craft. I think the state has recognized that as well and said, okay, hey, you know, our #1 economic impact is agriculture, second one is military, and third is tourism. All right, so the investments in the military and what's going on here in that aviation corridor between Seymour Johnson and Cherry Point. All right, so when you look at that, you look at the I-42 project that's coming through and the US 17. All of those connect together. What they do is they connect to markets, but also they help us with deployments, redeployments, power projection, and sustainment of the troops that are forward deployed. So any of those things between roads, rails, seaports, and airports, all those improvements that are going on with that infrastructure really help support military operations and growth as we go forward on that. Also the Global Trans Park. Okay, so we've got about 250 jobs that are leaving Utah and coming here to eastern North Carolina. It's the C-130 rework. Unfortunately, the military construction schedule, you know, once you start that, it's about 5 to 7 years before you can get a building. Well, this work appeared and came as a target of opportunity. That starts in 2025. And so to meet that demand signal and to build a building, the state has invested money in to build that complex up at the Global Trans Park. And so that allowed that work to come here to capture, because everybody knows once it goes to another state, it's probably going to stay there for about the next 50 years. So we appreciate all the efforts that went into pulling that work here into eastern North Carolina. Now we'll pull it over to the base, and I'll show you. Give you a quick orientation of the base. This is Cherry Point. All right, so we're surrounded on water here by 3 sides. As you come through, you got 4 8,000-foot runways connected with the center mat on here. Currently, our main gate is right down here off of 101, and then Slocum is our side gate that we have over here. So as the I-42 project continues, comes through the James City, into the C project, into the Havelock bypass. All of that, what that's really going to do is help the flow of traffic into Cherry Point. One of, you know, on Cherry Point, we look at 5 key strategic projects that we're working on, okay? So one of them is to make the main gate the Slocum gate, all right, to come off of here. And what this is going to do is help us get into making the base a north side and a south side. So a lot of people have seen Cherry Point, but really when you look from the aerial, you'll see that we really only have a quarter of the base currently developed, all right? So 3/4 of the base hasn't been developed there. And as we look at it to say, okay, hey, what, you know, it's a pleasure and honor to get up every morning and put on this uniform. And I know when I do that I'm charged with making the most of what's going on here at Cherry Point. And so what we've done is we looked at it and said, okay, hey, what are our nation's needs coming up here in the future? Well, one thing that we're going to need a better depot, all right? We need a purpose-built depot. Currently, Fleet Readiness Center East, they're working out of 1942 and 1943 buildings, all right? So some of them still have the original wood that was cut in the sawmill right there aboard Cherry Point. It's pretty historic when you go look through, but they're working on F-35s and 5th generation, our most advanced technology aircraft. They're making do with what we're able to give them at this point. So we're looking to move FRC East, which is currently working off of A Street here. We've given them a quarter of the base to develop here going into the future. This will be the first purpose-built area on a base for a depot that's out there. And there's 3 major Navy depots here in the U.S. One of them is Cherry Point, one of them is Jacksonville, Florida, and the third is North Island, California. So you can see between Jacksonville and North Island, they're encroached either by the land, you know, being on an island, or by the city that's around them. So they're a little bit more constrained than Cherry Point is. What we are able to do is go ahead and build in stride and continue to work at the same time. So what you're gonna see is you'll start to see the Hancock housing area that's been cleared. This is gonna be phase 1 of the development as we start to move and construct new going down 101. One of those key projects as well that we'll be meeting with NCDOT here in December is to talk about the Miller Boulevard expansion project as well for 28. That's going to take that into a 4-lane project as it goes down through here. All right, so when we pull in, you know, really I'm in charge of keeping the hotel running, all right? So if you call Cherry Point the hotel, all right? So I manage all the rooms and keep everything going. Big things that we're working on right now to look towards the future is infrastructure into utilities, okay? So we've got a lot of old utilities that were built back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. They need to be upgraded, and that's what we're investing our time and our efforts into right now. We've currently finished up 6th Avenue, so brand new utilities laid that entire length of the road. What that's going to do is it allows us for not only 5th generation, but to expand to 6th, 7th, 8th generation, whatever our nation's needs are in the future. We're going to do the same down A Street, which is going to give us brand new utilities. So as that goes through, and as we move FRC East over here to this area, that's going to allow us to expand 4 additional squadrons right here on the core area of the base. All right, we're also looking at another project here to expand the utilities on the back half of the base. What we're going to do, and it's the same kind of concept, if you live on the water, you should probably have a boat, right? If you live on the airfield, you should have an airplane. And if you don't, we're going to move them off to create that space. Because the biggest thing that we can offer is space aboard the base, all right? So in times of need and war, if we have the utilities laid into the ground, we can expand rapidly. We can lay concrete pads, put shelter halves over the top of it, and then we can go from our current footprint, we can take an additional 12 squadrons back here. All right, so what we are charged with right now is prepping this to expand in the future as we go through. For 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing, right now they have 6 F-35 squadrons that are planned to come to Cherry Point. We have our first one that's already stood up. I know Hefty Bardo came in and briefed y'all on that one as well. Second one will stand up this summer. We're continuing with the hangar builds as we go through to support that expansion. Currently right now, the tail number's 60 of them coming. All right, that could expand to 72. They're looking to do 2 additional, potentially, aircraft per squadron as they go through as their backup aircraft. All right, but in our construction and design, what we've done is we've created these hangars to go to their full program of record of 16 aircraft per squadron, all right? They also have been doing a lot of training when it comes to distributed aviation operations. And one of the key things about Cherry Point is that it's not only just this airfield that's here, all right? It's 5 additional locations that are around Cherry Point to make that entire complex. We got bombing targets 9, bombing targets 11, Atlantic Field, Bow Field, Oak Grove. Now, when you look at that with Cherry Point as well, 5 of those 6 locations are accessible by water. So when you start talking about amphibious operations and training, that's why Cherry Point is key and strategic to the Marine Corps and to the Navy. We've been doing a lot of joint training and exercises. You'll see 4th Fighter Wing's been down here a lot doing some of their distributed aviation training as well. So we support all training across the services because we're a lot stronger when we share our toys. All right, so we don't have enough to do it by ourselves, so we need to bring all the toys together to have a good training session that's out there. As we go through 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing, we'll also be getting the MQ-9 Reapers. All right, so those are a big unmanned aerial system that'll be brought here to Cherry Point. Okay? When those come, the pilot will actually be operating in a little box here aboard Cherry Point, but the asset will actually be deployed to another country. They'll be linked up by satellite, and they'll be flying it from here at Cherry Point, so fighting for the installation as they go there. For Fleet Readiness Center East, they continue to expand and bring more work in to eastern North Carolina here. The big things that they have going for them is, one, the cost of labor and the cost of living, all right? So when you look at between Jacksonville, Florida, and North Island, California, nobody can beat our prices, all right? So, and we actually have the land to build something new and purpose-built to support those trains. Here in the future, what we're designing and going after is a 60-bay, it's called the Industrial Production Complex. We're looking to put that aboard Cherry Point. That'll be 60 bays that are interchangeable between type model series, so then that way we can get it fixed right here. And what Fleet Readiness Center East is producing is they're producing on time or earlier, and they're doing it at a cheaper rate. So that way we can have a cost savings that goes back to the DOD. So if you're paying for, if your cost is less, sometimes there's almost a cost savings of $1 million an event to hit those. So that goes back in to the DOD to spend. So that's kind of the big overview there. A lot of good work has gone in through the community. It's gone through our military affairs committees, our ACT, through the state, through the county as well, and we look forward to working with you going forward in those unity lines of efforts. A lot of good things. Love to sit down and talk to you about sometime. You know, just to include our Civil Air Patrol and our school systems as well. So that way we're all pushing forward. But thank you for your time.
Thank you. Questions from the board, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I think the commissioners would love to visit this and see what it looks like.
We would love to have you, sir. Love to come down and give you the full brief and take you around, put you in the tower and let you see it for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is, it's very exciting seeing what's happening there, and it's great to know that the facility is continuing to grow. But my concern is now that we're having threats from everywhere over the world that folk are coming in to destroy facilities and such, what safety measures do we have to protect this facility that we're building there?
We have a lot of layers of protection, I'll call them, you know, and a lot of good interagency talk and coverage. So it's not only just Cherry Point, but it is also our, you know, NCIS, your CIA, your DEA, you know, so it's layers around, and all of our law enforcement talk with each other.
I mean, going beyond talk, well, if the bombers were coming in, can you stop them before they get to Cherry Point?
Well, we can with good intel.
Yeah, okay.
So I'll leave it at that, and I know when y'all come, we will get a little bit more in depth in there when we can have some closed door sessions.
All right. Commissioner Mitchell?
With the ramp up with FRC and the new production and the F-35s, over the next 5 to 10 years, how many additional personnel do you expect to be assigned to Cherry Point in aggregate? And what is the average salary?
Okay. Great questions. So right now, between now and 2030, we put it in two categories. We put it into the known growth, all right, that right now the known growth is 1,200, and that's active duty and civilians, all right? So 900 active duty members, 300 civilians, and I'm just capturing Craven County only, okay? So that's the known, and we have a couple of unknowns or potentials that we're working. We won't add those numbers in until they sign, kind of like college football, you know, when they sign on the dotted line and put on America's Air Station hat and come to Cherry Point, then we'll add them to the numbers. But that's potentially another 600. So really what we're looking at is 1,200 known, potentially up to 2,000 right now. But what we owe our community partners is a good update yearly. And so we just pushed this year's update out with those exact numbers. And as we know new things coming in, we will update those numbers to ensure that you know what is coming through, so that way limited resources can be put in the right places. And then for average salaries for the FRC East, they're going to grow by 300. You know, those average salaries are about $74,000 to start. So
That's great. That's good. All right, County Manager, I think you've got one or two things.
Yes, sir. I'd be happy to, Commissioner Mark, schedule work with Colonel Burns and his team, but I just got to tell you, he's been a fantastic partner to Craven County. He and his team on Cherry Point, it's never been better. And I think of that partnership, I look forward to continue working with him on these plans and others as we move forward. Thank you, sir.
Just a little bit of history for our board. Our former county attorney, Mr. Jim Sugg, his family owned a farm where Cherry Point sits today. He was bought out by the federal government, their family years ago, to have to relocate, as other families did in Craven County, which was a great move for this county. But please know that this Board of Commissioners stands behind you. We're here to assist you, to help you in any way we can. All you got to do is just let us know what we can do. We recognize that this is the lifeblood of our economy right here, and also we support our military and want to do everything we possibly can to be a help to you. So thank you again for coming, taking your time to be here today, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
And happy Thanksgiving.
Commissioners, next item we have is item 3. We have Craven Aging Planning Board Home and Community Care Block Grant. We have with us this morning Mr. Clayton Gaskins, Chairman. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. So you all have the information. If you remember, each May when we present the budget, we typically don't have the final NGA, the National Grant Award from the state. So we typically use the previous year's budget as a guide and put together what I present in May. So in June of this year, we got the NGA, which was $3,164 more. So this was included on the agenda item submission form, that front cover sheet. But what was not included there, there does need to be a county match with that, as is typical. So with the county match, which is $351, the total budget is increased by $3,515, which takes the new total to $555,492. And as a board, that additional money was voted to be distributed to the Senior Companion Program with Coastal Community Action in Newport.
All right, Mr. County Manager, how do you want to the motion to read this morning?
I think, sir, if you would, the motion would be something like adopt the budget amendment included and provide the required, Mr. Gatson, you said
$351 is the match.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I did not ask for questions prior to the motion, but is there any discussion, any concerns? All right, hearing none, Madam Clerk, if you will, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Mark?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Booker?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes. And Mr. Gaskins, while you're here, as always, we thank you for what you do with your leadership of our hospice program. Will you give us a little update?
I certainly can. Since I've been here last, we are fully staffed and are doing very well with the team of folks I have on the staff. Our annual memorial service is coming up the week after Thanksgiving on November 30th, and last year we touched about 155 lives. So the families of those lives, the folks we work with, are invited to this memorial service. It's at 4 p.m. at St. Paul's. And then the other thing I wanted to share, I'm just going to kind of read through some of this. I've left copies of our newsletter with Nan for each of you all to have a copy of, but this is something we're very proud of that came from CMS, the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services. Recently, there was a total of 2,046 hospices across the United States that were ranked. Out of that number, there were 229 that received a 5-star rating, and 19% of those were in North Carolina. To further break that down, there were 57 hospice agencies in North Carolina, which was the 19%. We were one of those 5-star ratings.
Great.
Right here in Craven County. So CMS has a link in their website where folks that are faced with the decision of choosing a hospice company, same way with nursing home or home health, you can go into this link and choose 3 hospices that serve this county. Click the report and it gives you a comparison from data that have come from family surveys. That 5-star rating is included there. So that looks really nice when you know, if somebody's pulling that up, looking at the data, the percentages, but also to see across the top where we rank with the highest star ranking. So we're very proud of that.
That's excellent. Any questions for Mr. Gaskin?
Is there anyone on a waiting list to get into your
No,
hospital? Okay.
No. We, you know, it's no secret, about a year ago, we were down nurses and we had to turn down quite a bit of referrals. I didn't want to put anybody's care in jeopardy as well as our reputation. But no, we're fully staffed and our census is growing once again. So, thank you.
Excellent job.
Any others?
Thank you.
Not, again, we thank you, Scott, thank you for your leadership, appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you all very much. Happy Thanksgiving to you all.
Happy Thanksgiving, have a good day, sir. Commissioners, item 4 under departmental matters, our next is cooperative extension. We have with us Mr. Tom Glasgow, who's our MOA between North Carolina State University and Craven County. Good morning, Mr. Glasgow.
You all have the information. Before we get started, I just wanted to mention something, kind of an update of current extension activities, and this happened over the weekend. For the first time, North Carolina 4-H has won the National Poultry Judging Competition that was held in Kentucky over the weekend. And it was a Craven County-led team that accomplished this. Matthew Peluso, Elizabeth Peluso, and Connor Howard from Craven County, and Tessa Donnell from Halifax County took first place overall team. And this is a very big deal because of the amount of preparation that goes into it. There's a lot of collaboration between Ashley Brooks, our 4-H agent, and the labs on campus at NC State University and also NC A&T. Lots and lots of practice. And this points to good things for the future of the ag industry, I think, when you have these kinds of youth activities and so much dedication to the science. Getting that out of the way, I'm here to answer any questions or concerns you might have. This is the memorandum of agreement that is with every county in the state, between each county and NC State University Extension. It's kind of a operating procedures, who is expected to do what, and I think the document speaks for itself, but NC State Extension is currently in the process of working with all the counties and trying to bring these MOAs to the table and, if possible, get them signed as we move into 2024.
Okay. Jack, you want to make a few comments about it?
I would, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Tom, and he did a great job. And I got to tell you, I heard from a father of one of those participants at the Nationals, and they were really excited. I mean, this was a huge deal. And it says a lot about Tom's staff. Miss Ashley out there does a great job with the youth and getting them involved in these type of things. Anyway, To this MOU, I've gone back through history to find that in 2006, this board did adopt an MOU with NC State. So that would be what we call the current one. That really doesn't change until we come to a time like this. And basically, from what I can tell, Tom, is that NC State has had some significant changes in how they deal with employees, right? So Tom is an employee of NC State contracted to Craven County, okay? So we pay Tom as a contract employee. And there's been changes through legislation since 2006 that need to be ratified inside this document. Has no impact on what we do. We simply pay our proportional share by position of the employees of NC State. Also, it appeared in reviewing this with Tom, there was some cleanup in here, just some sections that weren't applicable anymore, some things that they wanted to clarify that left some gray area, basically just cleaning this up for the next 15 years moving forward. So I have no issues with it. Tom and I probably spent an hour together, and I feel comfortable with where we're at with it at this
Okay.
point.
Commissioners, you have any questions for Mr. Glasgow, Mr. Vite? All right, hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the 2023 memorandum of agreement? We have a motion. I have a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Mark?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Booker?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes. Mr. Glasgow, before you leave, sir, first, let me say, I will continue on what Jack said. We're very proud of Ashley and her work there, and maybe we can arrange something for them to come. I think they need to be recognized locally too, nationally. That's wonderful, great accomplishment, and I think you make sure that people understand. First for North Carolina.
Mhm.
That's right. That's awesome. Also, I want to say this may be the last time you stand before us as a Board of Commissioners, and to the citizens as the Extension Director for Craven County. Tom has worked with, I think, Craven County for about 36, well, in your role at Cooperative Extension for 36 years, I believe.
Yes.
Definitely, we are losing a lot of good, seasoned individuals in county government in the last year, and you are one of those also, and we appreciate your service to the citizens. I thank you on behalf of the agriculture community for what you've done for us, and you know, Tom is one of those gentlemen. I appreciate what he does, but I appreciate his wife is one of my lawyers, and I appreciate what she does even more. So just so you don't take her away from us, you let her work a few more years, Tom, if you will. So anyway, I did just want to extend our appreciation as a Board of Commissioners for what you've done.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a real blessing to be here all this time.
Thank you, sir.
We've got nowhere else to go, so we're staying right here.
Great, that's good news.
What's your termination date? I don't mean termination, I mean your retirement, excuse me for a bad choice of words.
Last day would be 12/29.
Oh, so at the end of the year.
Yes.
Well, wish you the best.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you again, Tom. Appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
Sounds like you need
Thank you
something.
so much.
Take care, buddy. All right, Commissioners, the next we have item 5, the Health 340B Pharmacy Budget Amendment, Ms. Scott Harrelson. Good morning, sir.
Commissioners. Yes, this morning we were bringing forth for your consideration a budget amendment in the amount of $135,000. This is around the 340B pharmacy. We have, it has been a big business thus far, really out of the gate. We actually have contracts set up with some retail pharmacies for people to enter when we're not open after hours on the weekends. Several retail chains, in addition to our main location there here in New Bern. We also have our farm techs going out and delivering medications by car, delivering it to the homes. So as a result, we're doing more business than we'd anticipated, and we're already at like 85% of our budgeted revenues, 84% of the expenses. So this is not county money. It's self-sufficient. Right now, we're running a modest profit year-to-date of about $20,000, but the more important thing is getting these medications where they need to be. And that is why we're coming this morning to ask for a budget amendment up for $135,000.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Harrelson before we entertain a motion?
Mr. Chairman, may I just
Yes, sir.
articulate one thing? And I think Gene made this point to me on Friday. If you look at the actual budget amendment, typically when you see these, the money's coming from fund balance. In this particular instance, we're actually projecting revenue. So this has no effect on your bottom line. It's basically adding future payments to Scott and then future purchases we need to make. So this is a good budget amendment in a way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. All right, Commissioners, you've heard the request to approve the budget amendment in the amount of $135,000. Do we have a
So
motion?
moved.
I have a motion and a second from Commissioner Mark. Any discussion on the motion?
Just
Commissioner
had a
Howard.
quick question. At the end, it says additionally, workers' comp was underestimated. What percentage of that is this? Is something about workers' comp at the end? I didn't hear any
Yes,
discussion on that.
apparently, when we were doing the initial budget, they came in a bit low. $2,764 is what they're anticipating for the rest of the year.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any additional questions? All right, hearing none, Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Mark?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Booker?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes. Any updates you got for us, Mr. Harrelson? You don't have to have. I didn't know if you had something this morning you need to share.
Well, I would say we were just doing our annual report, and I think that we had the hospice situation with the nursing shortage, and then we had some things with the animal shelter. But I think that now, looking across the whole department, I'm pleased in all areas. I think everybody's trying to do everything they can, and I think that especially with some of the performance measures and some of the routine reporting, it's all trending in the right direction. And yeah, I think I'm thankful for that.
We thank you, sir. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Thank you.
Item 6, we have planning. We have Mr. Chad Strong, our planning director. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. This is a follow-up from our last meeting that we had in regards to a dilapidated mobile home park in Bridgeton. In order to move forward with a court-issued improvement order within a dilapidated mobile home park in Bridgeton, planning staff requests the commissioners approve the attached budget amendment in the amount of $200,000. This will allow staff to begin the removal of the dilapidated trailers, as well as the removal of the solid waste and vegetative debris within the mobile home park.
I make a motion to accept.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the budget amendment in the amount of $200,000. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hear no discussion, Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Mark?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Booker?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes. You have anything for us this morning, Mr. Chad?
Well, we have gone out and we have put notices on these units. We did that last Wednesday to start the 30-day period. After the 30 days has passed, then we'll start removing these units around December the 15th.
All right. Appreciate you and your staff and what you're doing.
Yes, sir.
Happy Thanksgiving, sir. All right, item 7, we have appointments, commissioners. You have pending appointments. You have a list of those before you. Do we have any nominations from the board for any pending? Here are no nominations for pending. We'll move to current. You have 3 seats there under Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. The first is the DA's office seat, Ms. Catherine Hanson. She is eligible for reappointment. What's the desire of the board?
Reappoint.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion, or a nomination to accept Ms. Hanson. Are there additional nominations from the floor? Hearing none, we will accept her by acclamation. The next is the law enforcement seat on the JCPC. Ms. Billy Matthews serves in that capacity. She is eligible for reappointment. Do we have a nomination?
Reappoint, please.
All right, we have a nomination of Ms. Matthews. Are there additional nominations from the floor? Hear none, we will accept her by acclamation. Next, you have the health designee. There's a retiree that will no longer be able to serve. So you do have Ms. Rogers, who seeks appointment to fill her vacancy. What's the desire of the board?
Recommend to appoint.
Okay, we got the nomination of Ms. Rogers. Are there additional nominations? Hear none, we will accept her by acclamation. The next is the jury commission. We have Mr. Timothy Mason, who currently is serving. He is eligible for reappointment. What's the desire of the board?
Reappoint.
Okay, we got a motion of Timothy Mason. Are there additional nominations? Hear none, we will accept by acclamation. Then you see the upcoming terms expiring in December. There are a number of those from many districts across the county, so please take note of that. Are there any additional appointments to be made today? Hearing none, we will move now to County Attorney's report. Mr. Grady. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I have 3 items this morning. All 3 involve county-owned real estate acquired through the tax foreclosure process, and all 3 are jointly owned with the city of New Bern. So I'll economize in the presentation by saying the city has already given approval to each of these items. The first is an initial offer, 1022 K Street, parcel ID number 8-006-045. The offer amount is $2,700. The original past due taxes and the cost of foreclosure were $5,599.31, and the tax value is $5,400. I recommend that the board consider giving initial approval so we can get it in the upset bid process.
All right, what's the desire of the board?
So moved.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a
Second.
second? A motion and a second to adopt the resolution approving transaction, authorizing upset bid process for parcel number 8-006-045. Any discussion on the motion? Hear none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Now B.
The second one is for property located at 1127 H Street with a parcel ID number of 8-006-5000. The offer amount is $3,900. The past due taxes and the cost of foreclosure together were $3,523.53. The tax value of the property is $7,800. As with the first one, I recommend that the board consider giving initial approval to this so we can get it in the upset bid period.
What's the desire of the
So
board?
moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution approving transaction and authorizing upset bid process, parcel number 8-006-5000. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. And C.
The third and final matter is for parcel number 8-006-006. Note the street address is the same as the second parcel, 1127 H Street. We checked, confirmed, double-checked, and triple-checked. They do have the same address, which occasionally happens when you're dealing with unimproved lots, but they are 2 discrete properties. With this third one, we have an offer amount of $3,900. The past due taxes and the costs from the foreclosure were $10,063.78. And the tax value of this property is $7,800. As with the other 2, I recommend that the board give initial approval so we can get it out for upset bids.
All right, what's the desire?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution approving transaction and authorizing upset bid process, parcel number 8-006-006. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and
Thank you,
Commissioners.
sir. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Yes, sir. You too.
Next is County Manager's Report. Mr. Vike. Good morning.
Morning, sir. Morning, Commissioners. Thanks for the opportunity. I actually have a scheduled item this morning I want to go over with you. It's item 9A in your package. And this is correspondence we received from the Craven County Board of Education in regards to F.R. Danis Elementary School located at 700 West Street in New Bern. And I believe Mr. Bennett has pulled this up. So if we'll take a second, there's a map in your package, but just for the folks in the room, it's the property outlined in blue. Last use of this property was a pre-K center, which is no longer taking place in that facility. If you remember back, some of the commissioners, I believe it was 2 terms ago, there was some action to try to get a roof repaired on this facility by Coastal Community Action, who heads up the Head Start program. They had a lot of challenges in finding funding. If I remember, it was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars just to repair the roof, which you see here is outlined in white and then in gray coming down in an L. This property has been deemed surplus by the Board of Education, and by general statute, it is required to give you first right of refusal. And what that means under general statute is you can pay fair market value to the Board of Education for this property if you deem it something that the county needs for a county purpose. At this point, in trying to answer that question, I've reviewed it along with staff and facilities. We have no need for property, particularly in this condition. At this point, we have just taken a large undertaking with the Sudan property here on site that we plan on moving forward with over the next few years. This property is further into town, so to speak that way, and doesn't provide us any strategic cohesion with what we have downtown and what we're trying to do here with the county complex. But I'm certainly open to ideas from the board if you have some. Fair market value, how would you establish that? My guess would be an appraisal. We don't really take a deep look at government-owned property from a taxing standpoint. Right now, it's showing $82,000. That actually may be high with the condition of the building, but there may be some value to it from someone else from a development standpoint that we're not looking at, right? If it's in the private sector, how would they deal with that? So from purely governmental, it doesn't appear to have much value at all. I'm here for questions if you have them.
Sounds like New Bern might be interested in.
Well, I've actually reached out to them and talked to their manager, and you know, I don't believe they had anything necessarily right away. There may be some interest in future, but right at this point in time, I don't believe it was there.
Further discussion, Commissioner Booker.
Mr. County Manager, the decision that we make if we decide we do not want
Correct.
this property goes to the Board of Education. If they then put the property up for sale and sell it, the proceeds of that sale belong to whom?
Well, that's a great question. So I've tried to research how they acquired this property. It appeared in 1972. The city of New Bern purchased this property from the federal government. It was the old armory here, and it had become abandoned at that time or no longer used by the federal government. And New Bern bought it because if you remember in the 70s, New Bern had their own school system. So then those assets were transferred when they assimilated with Craven County Schools. They become Craven County Schools property. So I'm going to have to go back and try to replicate that, and I'm also going to look to Mr. Grady to help me with that. But I believe there's some chance that some of those revenues come back here. It's just depending on how it was originally purchased is the key.
And that would depend on if anybody wants to buy it.
That's an assumption we have to consider, yes.
Okay, further discussion. Commissioner Smith?
This is a very difficult one for me because this is the site of from what I understand, the first black school that went to high school. And children throughout the county came to New Bern. Some of them came and lived with relatives and that sort of thing, because in the county, the schools went to 8th grade. It was the highest grades. This school has gone through a lot of trouble, and of course, like the name change, it was the West Street High School. And there was a couple of years ago, as Mr. Vike said, an offer to repair the school. However, this person got that grant, but they had to have like a 5-year lease in order for the building to be repaired. And the school system would only allow them to get a 1-year lease. So they lost those monies. And every effort since that time has not materialized. So it is one of the few black markers that is left. And we need to recognize and remember our history, remember where we came from, to understand where we've come from and how far we've come and what we need to do and where to go. Education is important in everyone's life. And I think that it is worth realizing, worth remembering. So it gives me heartburn to know that now, even though it's very expensive to repair this property, and we have reached out to other properties that are also expensive and been able to come up with funds to repair them. So I think that we need to make an effort, do further studies, make an effort to save this property if possible. It's part of although it's a old black school, it is part of Craven County history, part of New Bern's history, and it's worth saving, it's worth remembering. So I think we need to consider that prior to making the final decision.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Other comments from the board? I know the Vice Chair and myself and Jack have sat and we've discussed this item for several weeks now in preparation for today's meeting, and trying to look at if there, and I'm sort of saying the same thing you've already said, but I just want to make sure it's understood. Trying to look at, is there any need for this piece of property for county government? And, you know, as it's been stated, large investments already been made in the adjacent property here, and he does not feel like in the near future that there is. I definitely respect Commissioner Smith, and I respect the concern of the community. I can remember some years ago, Commissioner Smith, as you know, when they tore down Jasper School, they tore down Fort Bommel School. That was a big blow to our community. But I think at the end of the day, what this board has got to decide is, you know, are we going to accept it or decline it? I think it's already, the Vice Chair sort of made the comment, and I think he said it to me also, you know, whether we accept or decline. If we decline, it goes back to the school board, and ultimately they could decide whether they want to donate this property or do something with it. I think our position today is, do we need it?
Correct.
And I think in what you're telling us this morning and what you relayed to myself and the Vice Chair is you do not see a need for it for county government, and I just want that, make sure that's stated for you.
Yes, sir. I agree. That is exactly my statement.
And so, you know, as a commissioner, I have to take your word for it. Definitely not going against the community. But we see no need that we have for it, and so in that, I think, you know, the vote would ultimately come down to a board is, you know, do you want to give it back to the school board and let them make the decision what they do with it? Commissioner Mitchell, I think you had a comment.
Well, I do. This is a property of historical significance, and I think we need to consider reaching out to Diener with it. Regardless of what happens to the school, I think this is a site that might merit a historical marker because of its significance to the African American community here in eastern North Carolina, which would serve to, you know, people here may know the significance of the building, but people who are new to this community may not. And a historical marker, which I believe North Carolina government could help with, might be able to preserve the historical significance moving forward.
Great point. Commissioner Howard.
I would just like to concur with what Ms. B was saying. We do have a troubled history in this part of the state, you know, not this board, of tearing down significant black history markers. I don't know what we can do about that, but it does give me concern.
Right.
What's going to happen to this property.
So, Board, I reckon the question would be today, do you want to take action on this today? Do you want to allow the county manager to have further discussions with the school board or some recommendations that's been made here today, or how do you want to proceed?
Well, I would just add that we've already had county manager, chairman, and myself did have a discussion last week with the school board, the chairman and vice chairman, and the superintendent of schools. And at that time, we said we don't think that we have any use for this building. And that's really the issue here.
Right.
Is, do we, the county, have an use for the building? And if we don't, then we give the decision back to the school board. They can then decide they want to try to sell it to someone who does want to preserve it. If there is someone in the community who feels it's worth preserving, that's wonderful. If they don't, then they can put it up for sale and it can get sold to a private person who thinks that they can use this building, or a group that wants to preserve it. It apparently, and I haven't been in it, but it apparently is in very bad repair. Needs a lot of work just to keep it alive, so to speak. So I think our decision today, Mr. Chairman, is do we have a use for the building? And if we don't, I think we need to give the school board, as soon as possible, our decision that no, we don't need the building. It's back in your hands to do as you wish.
So Commissioner Booker brings up a great point. This is a procedural question you're asked here. So in 2017, you did a 10-year strategic plan that showed how the county facilities would grow and where we would expand. And obviously, we made a huge commitment a year ago, next month, next door. Throwing something like this out is a significant curveball in our 10-year plan, right? So you're procedurally asked, do you have a need for it? And if the answer is no, that doesn't mean you can't say, but school board, we'd like for you to try, as you're disposing of this property, to find an accommodating use that fits the community. That's a fair statement. That doesn't mean they have to do it. It just means you're on the record saying that's what you'd like them to do. That would be my recommendation, because I hear there's some instances where there's some discussion that still needs to be had on it.
This is similar to the school in Bridgeton, the old school.
100%.
And it's the same thing, and we turned it over to the Board of Education.
Correct. Yes, sir. Same exact scenario.
All right, so what's the desire of the board?
I make a motion to sell it. Not
Decline.
Decline.
Decline the option to purchase.
That would be correct.
All right, we have a motion to decline the option to purchase. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from the Vice Chair Booker. I'd just like to ask Commissioner Mark, Vice Chair Booker, if, you've heard a discussion, if you would allow, a little extra language maybe to be put in the motion, a recommendation, of Commissioner Mitchell, also, of other comments.
Yeah.
Would that be all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Board, are you good with that?
That's a
I
great
mean, that
idea.
we recognize the historical
Right. Yep.
significance of this property, and that we encourage, if at all possible, that the Board of Education look at every option to preserve it.
May I add something to that?
Please.
I think an official correspondence from the chair in a letter outlining the decision of this board, and then those strategic comments that you want to make after would be the proper.
You okay with that, Commissioner
Yes.
Mark? Vice Chair Booker? All right, discussion from the board. And I just want to say to my colleague, Commissioner Smith, I understand 100% how you feel today. And it's, as I said, when Jasper School was being thought about being done away with, I know we had the same heartache, so I understand. Here, no further.
Can I say one other thing? If I remember correctly, when Bridgeton was sold, the whole property was not. They made a memorial area out there, so there is something there to it.
So there.
And
Yes, ma'am.
and they did move the school just down the road a bit with the same name. So
There was
It's
some
not just-
ownership. Commissioner Mark is much better at this than me.
Yeah, it was
There was a
the
part
same-
owned by the
it
school
was the
system
same
and a
thing
part
with
owned by
Roof.
the city.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Town of Bridgeton, excuse me.
All right, you've heard the motion. Further discussion? Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes, with the historical preservation letter included.
Commissioner Hunt,
Yes.
Commissioner Mark,
With the letter included, yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes, with the letter included.
Commissioner Smith,
No.
Vice Chairman Booker,
Yes.
Chairman Jones.
Yes. Motion passed. And definitely when Jack gets the letter prepared.
We'll share it with the board.
We will share it with the board and have it for everybody's correspondence. All right?
So, Mr. Chairman, I try to, today meetings try to bring you kind of focus on one division within county government. Today, I'm going to focus on the animal shelter. We've had a great run since budget. I know you've heard from Dr. Osler, you've heard from Scott, but I'm really, really excited with the direction we're going. I actually spoke with the sheriff last week, and we both talked about how well the staffs are working together and how much productivity we're seeing and how much goodwill we're seeing from our citizens and others. And I just want to point out 3 events to you. One's upcoming, 2 have already happened. One was a couple weeks ago, we hosted Jordan's Way, which is a nonprofit that comes in and helps fundraise for specific nonprofit shelters or county-owned, city-owned shelters. They came in, did a fantastic program. I think Commissioner Hunt saw some of it, maybe others stopped by that day. But they raised about $6,000, and what that money goes to is providing heartworm treatment for heartworm-positive animals, along with medical care for animals that are coming in. And that makes a huge difference for what we're doing. Heartworm-positive animals are very expensive to treat. So we wanted to thank the citizens who participate in that program and made that happen. Really fun event if you get a few minutes to go back and watch the video on YouTube on the Facebook page. Second, last week we hosted the Mutt Strut, which is a Thanksgiving type event where we asked for volunteers to come walk all our dogs, and when they're brought back, they receive a Thanksgiving meal, and it was turkey and sweet potatoes and green beans and all the things we would eat, but in a bowl. So the dogs really enjoyed it, and I just want to thank the volunteers who took time out of their day to be there. And then finally, on November 30th, we're going to have what we're calling a Shelter Pet Day, and that was the resolution you adopted, I believe, at your last meeting. It's going to be read there that morning. We're going to invite all our volunteers and all the folks who are interested in the animal shelter to come by. And we decided one thing we'd like to do, and if many of you are aware, you've seen the news, we are at capacity now, and it's mainly because of owner surrenders and some situations where we've had to go out and collect animals that weren't being treated right. So November 30th will be the day, and that'll kick off a long weekend of reduced adoption fees for dogs and cats based on the fee schedule that you set with the budget. And we would like no more than to clean that shelter out after Thanksgiving, before Christmas. We really would like to do that, and I know our staff would like that. So we encourage you to pass that message along, attend that day, and if you can, adopt a dog or cat at half price. So I'm looking at Commissioner Mark when I'm saying that. So he needs another cat. Anyway, Mr. Chairman, that's the update, but I just want to tell you I'm really pleased with the staff. Dr. Osler's leadership's been fantastic. She's doing a fantastic job out there. Please stop by the shelter, even if it's not during one of these events, to visit and see for yourself.
All right, any questions for Mr. Vike?
No, I would just like to say I think that E.T.'s motion of providing a veterinarian 5 days and in charge of the dogs and cats has really gone great.
Fantastic decision.
So, thank you, Commissioner Marks.
All right, hearing nothing else, thank you.
Thank you.
County Manager.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, we do have the groundbreaking for the social services expansion. About 20 minutes from when we wrap up here, we'll head directly out to News Boulevard. And I believe it's, tell me the address, 2122 News Boulevard? I'm looking at Gene.
2818.
2818. Oh, it's not a lot of twos, but we'll be there, sir. 20 minutes out.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, Commissioners' reports. Who'd like to begin today?
I have no report, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Mark, thank you. Commissioner Hunt.
Well, since county manager has kind of stole my thunder on all things I wanted to talk about, I'll just mention the fact some people have come to me and asked why we do fundraisers for the county shelter when we have taxpayer dollars paying to take care of our homeless cats, dogs, guinea pigs, horses, and so forth. I'd like to explain that we cannot predict the number of animals that we take in each and every year. So when we have a day where we take in 50 dogs in one day, that may not have been able to be predicted and budgeted 8 months ago. And this is part of the reason that we do fundraisers, is so that we can give these animals medical treatment and help them find their forever homes. So that's all I have for today.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Smith.
Well, I don't have anything.
All right.
My heart is broken this morning, however, I will get over it.
We understand. We understand. All right, Commissioner Howard.
Just was going to say that November 15th, we had a town hall In Carolina Pines included folks from Croatan Crossing, Neuse Harbor, Stately Pines, Havelock, and of course, obviously Carolina Pines. It was well received by community members, maybe about 60 folks. We had to add some chairs in the back. Just another good town hall. I won't go into details and bore you, but it was productive.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. Commissioner Mitchell.
Thank you. I appreciate you getting my name right after we've been together this long. With it, just one thing, the chair of the North Carolina Military Affairs Commission, Major General Rodney Anderson, U.S. Army retired, will be coming to Eastern North Carolina the 14th of December. I'm setting up an agenda for visits. He has been to Cherry Point before, been to FRC before. He has not seen our F-35s before or our community college. So I'll be more in touch with county leadership on that one. But I think it points out how important our Marines and our military is to Eastern North Carolina that he's making another trip with it. And other than that, I don't have anything other than to wish everyone a safe and happy Thanksgiving, especially our people in uniform.
Thank you. Vice Chair Booker.
Yeah, just to make a couple of comments about, number one, Thanksgiving. Commissioner Mitchell just asked to wish everyone a safe and happy Thanksgiving. It's a special time of the year, but I think to me, it's more important this year than ever, and that's because of what's going on in other countries. The ability we have, thanks to our military and our history, and to some degree our isolation from other countries, the ability we have to go to bed at night and sleep soundly, knowing that we don't have to, never have to say never, but we don't think about or worry about our safety. What's going on in two other countries right now really brings to my mind the importance of giving thanks. Giving thanks to God for all that He's given us in this country. But most of all, I think of people in Ukraine, and most recently, and even more so, the people in Israel, what they're going through. And I don't know, I've not spoken to anybody else here, but I would assume that we all stand with Israel in their fight against an evil group of folks who've done evil deeds and terrible, just mind-boggling evil. So I stand with Israel, and I hope everybody else here does, as I try to remember the people there in my prayers each day, and I encourage everyone to do the same. And as we celebrate Thanksgiving, we need to remember why we are so blessed, and that we're so blessed. So, thank you.
Amen. Great comments, Vice Chair Booker, and I had also planned to say something about Israel, but you said it better than I, and definitely, we have been receiving some correspondence as a Board of Commissioners as do we stand with Israel, and definitely I definitely support it. Israel in what they're trying to do and to defend themselves. I've been listening in recent days to a lot of pastors who are preaching on the end times and why we should, as a nation, support Israel. And definitely, if you believe in the Word of God, which I do, is defined in it over and over and over again that God loves Israel and His people, the Jewish people, and that we are to support them. And so I definitely do, as an American citizen, support them.
I'd just like to add one more thing. I've been blessed twice to make a pilgrimage to Israel. So having been there and seen this little tiny country and driving around the perimeter and seeing their enemies surrounding them, and the fact they're the only democracy in the Middle East, the only one. And so the rest of the countries around them hate them. They want to eliminate them. I don't want to go on and on, but it's really important that we keep all that in mind.
Yes, sir. Talking about Thanksgiving, I do thank the Lord for this Board of Commissioners, for my colleagues. I thank the Lord that he's allowed us to work together, work for the citizens of this county for this season of life. And I pray God's blessings be upon each of you and your families, and also to our citizens in this county. We are blessed to live in Craven County, in North Carolina, in America. No way to count our blessings for God has provided to each of us, and I thank each of you. Also today I want to recognize we have with us Alderman Bob Brinson. Bob, we appreciate you. You got anything you want to share with us today? Come right forward here, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. No, I just appreciate the opportunity. I have nothing to add except, here in friendship and cooperation, and I do, since you've given me the opportunity, want to wish this board and the staff and our friends at Cherry Point a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your service. All right, Commissioners, anything else to bring before the Board of Commissioners this morning? If not, we are going to recess this meeting to go to the DSS expansion groundbreaking ceremony, which will be at 2818 News Boulevard. What time, County Manager?
Let's reconvene a little after 10, sir.
We will reconvene a little after 10. And I do ask Commissioners, after we have the groundbreaking, please, we need a quorum to remain so we can adjourn this meeting. So please make sure we got 4 there that we can do that. Again, Colonel, we thank you for being here. Thank you for being here also. Look forward to working with you, sir. All right, hearing nothing else, we stand recessed.